Welcome back to the State of Legends podcast. I'm Michael.
I'm Dylan.
And we're doing Florida this week.
Florida, the state.
The state.
The actual state of legends.
I think so. What have you had anything going on, Dylan?
Yeah, a lot actually. Had to be an amateur mechanic for a while. That was fun. Went to Arkansas. It was okay.
What'd you do in Arkansas?
My wife is a vendor at a comic convention.
Hey.
They had the lady from Austin Powers that played Frau.
Oh, yeah.
And she did one of her screams from Austin Powers all the way across the room. No mic or nothing. I just heard, Scott! I was like, she still got it.
I haven't been doing much. Getting ready to go on vacation next week. But besides that, nothing. Dealing with the Texas heat.
Oh, the Texas heat. It's the heat of legends.
Heat of legends. Well, let's get into Florida. We got an interesting few stories here on Florida. We're talking about cannibals, coral castles, and the Everglades. What's funny is when you suggested the cannibal, and me looking it up, I'm like, which one? I guess there's multiple cases of cannibals. And
let's just say that trailer for GTA 6 showing all the crazy stuff happening, that's not inaccurate. This is
that
a real
might be
deal.
our thumbnail for this this video. Let's start out with the cannibal.
The Florida cannibal, or as I always called it, because this happened when I was a teenager and peak zombie freak out era. So we always called it the Florida zombie attack.
Florida zombies.
So this was in Miami, Florida, I believe.
I think everything we're talking about basically is in southern Florida. I think we could have done a northern Florida and a southern Florida.
So Florida's kind of like Texas, where you go from one side and it's like a completely different country, basically.
I think it just gets wilder the farther south you go.
We're going to talk about a couple of people on here, but the first one, the most famous one, has to be Rudy Eugene.
Rudy Eugene.
And so when this happened, he wasn't very old when this happened, because he was born in 1981, February 1981 as well, so he was about 30.
Yeah, 30. You said 2012 when it happened.
Yeah, 31. So yeah, he was born in February 1981, and he was a child of Haitian immigrants. His parents divorced like right after he was born, a few months. So he had no relationship with his dad, and he worked a lot of little odd jobs here and there after school. He sold CDs and worked at McDonald's.
All right, that's some odd jobs there.
I mean, hey.
He could have been, I guess it's too, well, I don't know. He could have been at that time. He could have been burning them off LimeWire and Napster.
Yeah, I was about to say, see, he was in high school, so it had to be the 90s.
Yeah.
So he was over
the
there
late 90s.
selling collective soul CDs.
Hey, you could have one of those label makers and making his own mixtapes,
Trust me, this band Bush, you're not going to want to miss it. All right.
He could have been doing like some of those people in Vegas do. They just hand you a blank CD. Check out my mixtape.
Please listen to this.
You donate to them, and there's nothing on it. It's just blank mixtapes.
It's just repeats of Elvis. But his last known job, he was washing cars.
That makes sense. Go from selling CDs and McDonald's to washing cars. I see the
thing is, you could do all of that at McDonald's.
Yeah, you could.
When you get off,
work.
When you get off from making the McDoubles, you could wash somebody's car in the
lot.
parking
You want to supersize that? How about a CD? CD and apple pie?
Get you a number 3. That's the car wash special. You get a McChicken, a car wash, and a Bush CD.
Respect the hustle, huh?
So, like a lot of our stories, this kind of takes a dark turn. He had been arrested multiple times at a young age, and most of them were just marijuana charges. But there was one really bad assault charge that he had on him. He threatened to shoot his own mom. And I don't know about you, but that wouldn't fly in my house.
I mean, from marijuana up to shooting your mom, or saying you're gonna shoot your mom, that's a little much. It's a little
extreme, but it was kind of sounding like he had maybe something undiagnosed, like maybe schizophrenia or something, because he would just get angry.
Yeah.
Just get very angry.
Makes sense. I mean, we're not doctors, so don't take our medical advice.
No, I'm no doctor. But, hey, if you can call yourself Dr. Disrespect and get famous from that, I could be Dr. Dylan.
Dr. Dylan.
But he was also, at one point, married and got divorced after 3 years. So this dude lived a lot of life at a young age. And he attended church regularly with his family.
I mean, he has little instability, but he seems, I mean, he's got a few charges. The whole thing about shooting your mom, that's not really common, but who knows? It's Florida.
It's Florida.
Could be common down there.
Home of Florida man. I mean,
I think it's Florida men now. I think there's multiple. I don't think there's just one running crazy.
I thought it was just one guy doing the same crime over and over again.
They're like, man, they don't realize lock this Florida man up. This guy's crazy.
That guy gets around. He threw an alligator through a drive-through window. But we're going to get to the, I don't want to make a pun here, but the meat and potatoes of this.
Whoa, easy now. Talking about cannibals. He was on that keto diet before anybody knew about it.
No, he was on that, what was it, that caveman diet, the carnivore diet.
Yeah, carnivore.
Joe Rogan, take notes. But this was May 26th of 2012. He was wanting to attend Urban Beach Week, which I believe is a hip hop festival in Florida.
Yeah. You think he was trying to sell the CDs down there? He's like, check my mixtape.
You like Flow Rider? I'm kind of like that. I'm Georgia.
Georgia.
His car had broke down, and this is like, even though it's May, it's still hot in Florida. I mean, it gets hot in Texas in May. Florida and Texas.
Yeah, it's always hot and humid in Florida.
But he sat in the car for a bit after it broke down. I guess he was trying to fix it, but after about a half an hour, he left, and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to walk there. He had to get them CDs out. So he decided to do the 3-mile hike, I guess is what you'll call it, across the MacArthur Causeway. But this is where things get a little odd. He started to strip naked while walking.
Wait. You said it was pretty hot there, so I mean it's hot. Just pull a few clothes off, keep walking.
Yeah, but you
never can tell.
This is Florida.
I know.
Home of Gatorade.
That's why I'm not going to judge it. Not till I hear the whole story. I'm not going to judge this.
You know what? That's fine. That's fair. That was bad of me. I'm sorry. Anyways, so he's walking. He's streaking. It's hot, like you said. He's got some CDs to sell. Where's he keep the CDs though if he's naked?
I don't know.
During his travel, his quest, if you will, he came across Ronald Popo. This was a homeless man, just minding his own business, really, just chilling as much as you can when it's hot. He found Popo under a people mover near downtown Miami, which, for those you don't know, like me, is basically an elevated train system. Well, Mr. Popo, that's a Dragon Ball character, I think.
Mr. Popo with a fireball.
He's just sitting there, minding his own business, under the train, getting shade. He sees this naked man walk right up to him, and he comes up to him, and from what reports say, he was just kind of uttering just kind of nonsense at him at first, saying, we're all going to die. He just kind of sounded paranoid. And he had apparently accused Popo of stealing his Bible.
Stealing his Bible, huh?
Yeah.
Where was he carrying that if he was naked? And well, let's get back to this. He's under the bridge. Popo's under the bridge, chilling out, probably asleep, resting from the heat. You wake up and some naked dude's yelling at you. I mean, what's your reaction there?
Hey, man, I'm just trying to rest under this train.
Calm down, bro.
I'm getting ready for the festival myself. I got CDs to sell.
I got these mixtapes here I'd like to show you.
I got to show you my hip-hop name, Louisiana. But, yeah, he's going on about him stealing his Bible, which we'll find out later was in his car.
Well,
he left it. He's irresponsible. And, if your Bible goes missing, you can just buy one again. Just buy one at the store, but he did something a little extreme. He attacked Popo. This wasn't a normal fist fight. I mean, he was using his teeth, his mouth, his teeth, jaws. It's alleged that he had destroyed 80% of his face.
It's a wild attack there.
It was all caught on camera. A cyclist witnessed the attack, and he called 911. This lasted for 18 minutes. 18
minutes of some crazy naked dude trying to bite your face off.
He wasn't trying. He was going after it. Just 18 straight minutes.
I mean, you'd have to wake up and think, I got to be dreaming. I mean, what is going on here?
And like I said, the worst thing about it, and one of the crazy things about it, it was all caught on camera. So not only were there eyewitnesses having to see it, but it's recorded forever. You could probably even find it. Finally, after 18 minutes, the police finally showed up, and he had instructed Eugene. He's like, hey, stand down, stop attacking this guy. Literally did nothing to you. And the only thing Eugene said to the cop was, "Rrr." Like,
He growled at
he
him.
growled at him. This is like, how are you not going to think zombie?
You think that's the call of the Florida man, the growl?
Yeah, he's like, Gatorade.
Gatorade.
But man, the cop shot him one time first, and that didn't put him down. So he got shot 4 more times, and finally
5 times.
Finally, they ended it. That's
5 times to kill this crazy guy.
Not quite 50 Cent, but
No, a tenth of 50 Cent, but twice as crazy and a tenth of the strength of him.
it's just wild. But that ended the whole nightmare. I mean, I would say it ended the nightmare, but Popo, he at least he survived, but he didn't really have much left face wise. And I've seen the pictures, and it is a miracle he survived. Honestly, like this dude was strong or something. He had some goodwill. He drank some good Gatorade. Something. They had searched his car, and all they had found was 5 empty water bottles and the Bible, the one he was accusing poor Mr. Popo of stealing.
And this all was from a misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's what I'd call
I
it.
guess he wasn't a fan of Gatorade if he's just empty water bottles in there.
This solves the whole the water boy, Gatorade. He said H2O.
Not H2O.
Well, that kind of ended that whole ordeal. But, let's talk about Ronald Popo for a little bit. He was not young. He was born in May of 1947. Man, his birthday had just passed, too.
Wow, yeah. Just 9 days after his birthday.
Man. But he dropped out of college in 1966, and he's been homeless since the 70s.
That's a pretty crazy fact. I mean,
so it's no wonder he survived, honestly, because he's had to adapt to a lot of awful things. So
40 years of being homeless.
So kudos to him. But it says the Miami Homeless Assistance Program found him on May 24th of 2012, just 2 days before he got attacked. But he had declined any assistance.
So that's the first time somebody actually found him and even knew who this guy was 2 days before this happened.
Yeah, and he didn't want any help. I guess he's
like, no, man, I'm good under this. He's like, it's not like somebody's out there trying to bite my face off. No, forgot to knock on wood.
But at the time of the attack, none of his family, including his daughter, had heard from him in 40 years.
So the whole time he's homeless, they had no idea. They don't even know he's alive, I assume.
Which, that's not as uncommon as you think. Yeah, you hear stories like that. There was just a guy, he was kick streaming, I think. He's just doing like an IRL live chat stream. And this dude had walked up to the stream and was like interacting with him and stuff. And this guy had been missing for years. His family only knew he was still alive because they saw him on a kick stream.
That's wild.
So stuff.
I mean,
stuff
I could
like
see if it was like a few years, but like
40
years, you just never hear from somebody. You know?
Especially him being from Brooklyn. Brooklyn and Florida are 2 way different places.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody that knew him assumed he was dead. Of course, how could you not? 40 years. That's my life twice right now.
Wow.
Most of his face above his beard was missing. That's what I said. 80% of his face is what I've heard stat-wise. But thankfully, somebody had set up a fund to pay for his medical treatments. And, he's permanently lost his eyebrows. They won't grow back. His nose is gone. Part of his forehead's gone. Part of his cheeks are gone.
I can't even imagine how many millions of dollars this would cost you to in plastic surgery to even try to get this fixed.
And, I mean, he was missing his left eye. So he was missing his left eye and was blinded in his right eye. So he gets to keep the right eye, but what's the point? He can't see anymore.
He can't see anything.
And even after multiple surgeries, he was still deformed. There's only so much you can do. But he had relearned how to care for himself, and he was given permission to stay at a medical facility indefinitely. So at least he's cared for. And I've seen pictures of him with guitar. He's learned how to play the guitar and stuff.
Yeah,
I
did too.
He's as happy as somebody who had their face mauled can be, I guess. But it's just crazy that one guy did this to him. Because you see attacks like this and you're like, oh, that's a bear attack or a chimpanzee attack. You've seen that, the Travis the Chimp stuff.
Yeah.
His face looked just like hers.
Yeah, I mean.
And this is a man that did this to him. But, there's so much speculation. And everybody's first thing was drugs, because this was like the peak era of synthetic drugs. There was all these workarounds. They were getting at gas stations. There was like synthetic marijuana,
yeah.
stuff like that, because it was legal. And there's all these loopholes, but there were all these crazy synthetic things you can get at gas stations, which get you a hot dog and get you a boner pill. And then you see up at the counter, you see this thing, and it's advertised as actual bath salts. It had actual labels on it that said, "Hey, not for human consumption." That's how it got away with it. They're like, "Oh, take a bath with
What
it."
do you think a person in Florida reading that, not for human consumption, would say?
Challenge accepted.
Hey, yeah, that's exactly what
Challenge accepted.
I'll tell you what I can consume.
And the thing about like bath salts, they were cheap. I mean, I'd read somewhere, I think it was like for the equivalent of what they would call 3 hits, 3 bumps, because they did it like, smashed it up and gave it the old snorterino. I don't know what we could say on YouTube. Sorry. But, because it was actual, like, it looked like rocks, little rock salts. But it was $15 for about three hits from it. And it would give you the same feeling as somebody on meth, ecstasy, all that stuff combined. So it's something you can get for like $15.
So synthetic meth you can buy at the 7-Eleven, huh?
Walter White, eat your heart out. They gave Rudy Eugene an autopsy and toxicology report, because you got to say, what makes a man do this? And the only thing they found in his body was traces of marijuana. It was said that how his behavior was consistent with these bath salt attacks, but it was an inconclusive toxicology report, and they ended up blaming the new designer drugs that would not be detected yet, which I still think that might be it, because from what I hear, they were changing the recipe a lot.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he was on bath salts or not. I really don't think anybody on marijuana was. I don't think that was the cause of it. But if they changed it, but he had to have been on something. I don't know that you could just go that nutty and take 5 shots if you weren't amped up on something.
And see, that's the thing, is that when the bath salt epidemic first started happening, there would be people getting, brought into hospitals because they're like, yo, why is he acting like this? And it would take multiple people just to restrain somebody. It would take, I don't want to give the wrong numbers here, but I'm pretty sure 10 times like the average dose of a sedative to calm them down. So his stuff really matches that, and I could really see it, being bath salt or bath salt related. This is a Florida gas station we're talking about here. They could have mixed it with Tide Pods or something. He had 5 empty water bottles. There could have been something in the water bottles.
He had to, I don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe bath salts make you thirsty. I don't know.
But the main reason I wanted to talk about this story, his in particular, is because I witnessed it live on TV. I think I was watching Tosh.0 actually at the time. That's what was big back then, was Tosh.0.
They cut into the bath salt cannibal, huh?
And I switched over to, I was just switching channels, and it just showed what happened. And I'm 16 at the time. This is 2012. I'm scared the world's going to end in December, and I'm stuck on zombie games. I mean, Dead Island had came out the year before. I'd play COD Zombies with my friends all the times. Left 4 Dead 2 was one of my favorite games. I think The Walking Dead was just picking up speed on TV, or was it just now coming on?
That seems about the right time.
But me and a lot of people my age were like, oh, it's beginning, it's on. And I'm not gonna lie, some of us thought the idea was cool. We were kids. Hey, I was built for this. Let me get Juggernog. Let me pack a punch my gun. Ain't nobody gonna get me.
All you needed was a revolver and a fur-lined police jacket, huh?
and you had to have a kid named Carl.
Coral.
That was probably the biggest story about bath salts.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, I think if there was a zombie apocalypse was starting, it would probably start in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go with that would be a pretty good location.
But in that same regard, I think it would also end in Florida. Zombie versus Florida man.
They might say, hey, it's been going on for like 3 years. We just found out about it.
What do you think the gators are for?
they just clean up.
They just stash them all under Disney World.
Our gator zombies.
Oh,
live forever.
That's like that zombie tiger in the movie Army of the Dead. Has me thinking about Siegfried and Roy. But yeah, that was kind of a kickoff for, mid-zombie mania. We were ready, but we were scared. But, there was some things just like this that also happened in Florida. You got Austin Harif. This dude was a 19-year-old Florida State sophomore, and he had a history of drug and alcohol abuse leading up to his attack because he himself had taken part in a horrendous attack not too dissimilar from the one we just spoke about. And, this guy was like a fitness guy, too. He seemed kind of normal.
So he's like a super zombie.
But yeah, he's like a tank in Left 4 Dead 2. But I believe, I could be wrong, I think he had a YouTube channel. Like, he had a fitness channel. And there's a YouTuber named Wavy Web Surf, I think, who covered this. Because this guy had like a descent, like a rapid mental decline on YouTube, like, because he would do like fitness videos and stuff. But one day he was having dinner with his family and he got up and walked down the road, and then for an unknown reason he turned up on the road right before his dad's house, and he encountered Michelle Mishcon and John Stevens. I think they were just in their garage, right?
Yeah, I think they were just hanging out in their garage.
Just sitting in their garage with the door open.
They said that they entertain. It wasn't like they're just hanging out there like, oh, we're sitting in our car, in the garage. I think they had a couch out there and they kind of had it built like an entertainment center. Like, people come out, we hang out in the garage, have a little bar set up, stuff like that.
Yeah, we know people like that.
Not just two people just sitting
in the garage like, hey, what you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Just sitting in my garage.
They're just chilling in their garage, like entertaining, just probably watching some TV. But this happened in 2016, so Zombie Mania had kind of chilled out. Still Walking Dead was still.
I don't know. It might have been at the peak.
Walking Dead was still going on.
Season 4, for season 4, so it might have been the peak. I can't even remember what happened on the seasons, to be honest.
I think that's when we lost Herschel, wasn't it?
That might have been close to the
That's
peak.
when I stopped watching. Rip Herschel, but. He attacked them with a knife, and like a neighbor had come over and tried to stop him, but he was also attacked by Austin. And when the police arrived, they tried to tase him, kick him in the head, which Florida, and finally a police dog had to get him off of him. So this is a lot similar, to Rudy Eugene, where it's like something that would stop a normal person from attacking, they had to double it or triple it. When they had got there, he was making crazy rabid animal noises, not too dissimilar from Rudy Eugene, and he was crouched over biting the victims, like eating their faces. And then they had found a bloody knife and bloody scissors at the scene, of course. And the neighbor had survived the attack, but sadly, Mishcon and Stevens, they didn't make it.
I don't think there was ever really a reason. I mean, I could never find a reason why I don't even know that he knew these people. That's who he saw. Went in there and...
I believe there was footage, not of the attack, but the neighbor, I know for a fact there's footage of him either going home or getting help. And he had been attacked pretty bad. He was bleeding pretty bad. So you can, this is another thing that you could see footage of, because 2012 is one thing, but 2016 technology had really taken off. Yeah. I mean, everything was going viral. But, Austin had been taken to the hospital with apparent organ failure. And he told nurses that he had eaten human flesh.
See, that makes me think he was probably on some sort of drug. I mean, I know alcohol can do that to you, but it's like, I mean, why is it, he's doing this attack? He's like amped up and like basically trying to eat these people's face, and then his organs just start failing. I mean, you would think he took a bunch of drugs of some sort.
Yeah, it had to be. And some people speculated, if you watch his YouTube channel in particular, I think you can kind of see signs of mental decline in him. Whether that was something that was just naturally happening to him, or if it was boosted by these crazy designer drugs get at the gas station, you know. We don't know, but he was actually found not guilty by reason of insanity.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of controversy to that. I think a lot of people were pretty unhappy with that.
Yeah, you know, I can't really blame them, honestly. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, that's for the judge to decide, but I mean, what do you say about somebody who's just starts trying to attack somebody and bite their face for no reason? I mean, they're kind of crazy.
yeah, you know, it's not really somebody you want walking around. But of course, in the news, reporting on this, bath salts were brought up, and I'm going to guess Rudy Eugene was probably brought up too, since they were both in Florida. Just like this, though, none of that was in his system. And that really has me thinking that, like, they just can't detect some of this stuff.
Yeah, probably not, because they're testing for certain, like they're looking for something. They're looking for marijuana. You're looking for cocaine. I mean, some of these synthetic drugs, you don't even know what chemical compound they're using. So, I mean,
Compound V. I mean, it could be, you know.
Could be.
But it was decided that he had a mental illness that caused the attack, which I kind of lean kind of towards that too. But at the same time, drugs could boost that mental illness as well. And the fact that he had a history of drug abuse. But what's real crazy is this is a thing I had never heard of. Clinical lycanthropy?
Like werewolves?
Yeah, it's called werewolf disorder. Now listen, I know some furries, but they this ain't it.
I just don't know. I mean, you know, I can see him being mentally ill and then all of a sudden, but werewolf disorder? I mean, I've never heard of this before.
Is Florida.
Like, did this happen on a full moon?
American Werewolf in Florida.
He could be.
I mean, it's not.
I mean, it makes sense if they're growling and acting like a wolf or dog or something.
Think about that. What if Florida is a hot spot for werewolves and vampires and zombies, and we're seeing it from the outside? We're just like, oh, people in Florida are crazy, but the regular people in Florida are just like, help, please.
Something's not right here.
It sounds like Florida needs Van Helsing.
It wouldn't hurt.
But you know that
bath salts and werewolves.
That kind of concludes that. It's just I thought it was kind of crazy how this really started a big zombie craze. And if you want, you could go on a deep dive about the bath salt epidemic that we had. And it's kind of crazy because they found the guy that was importing it to America, and he was importing it from Beijing.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do anything about it because he's in China.
Always China, huh?
China. And I think they'd only busted about 10 rings in America, and it's still in Brazil. It traveled to Brazil and went rampant in Brazil. But hey, that's not a state of legend. That's a completely different place.
That's our international series.
That's next season.
Yeah, next season.
I think that pretty much about covers it. It's not like a funny subject, but it created a lot of paranoia.
I mean, honestly, yeah, we make some jokes and stuff, but I mean, it is sad. These people lost their lives. I mean, some of these people are either on drugs or mental illness. I mean, it's pretty serious. We make little jokes about it, but we understand the severity of all this.
But just know that if they come, I'm ready.
We're ready. Well, since you've told us all about the cannibals, let's move on something a little more lighthearted. The Coral Castle.
Man, that sounds like a water level in a PS1 game.
Just you've entered the Coral Castle level. This is a Mario level. Near Homestead, Florida. I think that's actually the second location. But before we jump to that, Edward Leedskalnin was born in Latvia in 1887. As a child, he read a bunch of books. He came from a family of stonemasons. I think his dad was a stonemason. His grandfather was a stonemason. I think his grandfather actually had a monument shop in Latvia. He carved tombstones for people. So, I mean, he had experience with, basically working with stones. He was engaged at 26 to Agnes Skups. I don't really know how to say her last name.
That looks right. Skups.
Which she actually broke off the engagement. Like, I think they said it was 2 weeks before the marriage.
Oh.
She was actually 16 at the time. He referred to her as his sweet 16.
But
after So after this, after he got brokenhearted, this Agnes disappeared. He decided to migrate to the U.S. in 1912. He came to New York, and there's not a lot. I mean, you're talking 1912, so there's not a lot of records of people. There was a census report after he went that he was in, I think it was Oregon. He was working as a logger. He worked there. But sometime in this period, he contracted tuberculosis.
Oh,
That's
no.
what ended up bringing him to Florida.
It's giving me Arthur Morgan flashbacks. You can't say tuberculosis in front of me. That'll ruin my whole day.
I thought it was Doc Holliday. Tuberculosis.
No, we like real cowboys here. All right,
Whoa,
Arthur Morgan.
Whoa, shots fired, shots fired. Put the revolver away, Dylan. So he's in Florida now. He constructed a castle. The original location of the castle was in Florida City. He called it Ed's Place, which makes sense. That's his name,
Welcome
Ed.
to Ed's place.
He didn't allow anyone to see how the castle was actually built. He was pretty secretive, doing it at night. And of course he used primitive tools. That's all they had back then. The only strange thing that they said was he had a perpetual motion holder. That's all he said about it. I don't know if that really follows the law of physics, but...
So it sounded to me, even though he's a Latvian, this might be one of the OGs when it comes to Florida man.
It might be.
Working all night, secretive during the day.
Just build a castle out there in the middle of nowhere.
This is
Florida.
Florida.
Hey, man.
This is Florida.
He's like, I hate living in the New York City. I hate trees and logging. I should build me a castle down there in Florida. They got...
This is the start. I'm telling you. The zombies and werewolves and vampires is because this dude built a castle.
It could be. He built the castle, the house thing he built was out of limestone and wood. Ulat limestone is what he used. It was big pieces. Big slabs. He actually quarried it out. A lot of people don't know how he actually got the limestone out. There's pictures of him with a tripod thing set up with hoist, and then some people said he used some sort of magnetic energy, which I don't know. If he really had tuberculosis or not, but it was actually said in one of the articles I read that he healed his tuberculosis with basically magnets. I don't know.
Dr. Disrespect over here.
I don't know if you just put one on one side, one on the other, and it's like rope. They push. You try to push two wrong sides of a magnet together, they kind of push apart. You do that against your tuberculosis, it kicks it out of there.
See, I don't want to brag, but I can kind of relate. In RuneScape, I'm a bit of a limestone hauler myself.
Hey.
So, you only get about 28 inventory spaces, but if you have magic note paper, you just mine the limestone and note it. That's probably what he did.
He could have mined it real fast if he had an efficiency 5 pickaxe. No, but he built all this structure, this castle thing, and he would charge 10 cents to each visitor. I think he would still let other people come in. He wanted to kind of show it off, But people would ask him, why did you build this? And all his response would ever be is my Sweet 16, which, do I know why you would build a castle out of limestone for your 16-year-old lover from Latvia? No, I don't know that. But
This is a winger song, dude. She's my sweet 16.
if that's not crazy enough for you, he decided, hey, man, it's getting a little crowded around here. They're building a subdivision over here. I'm getting encroached on. I want to pack up and move. So he hires a driver, and he said, hey, man, we're going to move all this stuff. And what's even nuttier is he said they reported that he didn't let the driver see how he loaded the truck. He loaded all of this limestone, this Ulat limestone. He loaded it all up himself. So, you have a truck back then, and you show up, and there's 2 tons of rock in the back of your truck. You're like, hey, man, how'd you do that? Secret.
This guy's a vampire. He's a vampire.
He
He's
could
from
be.
Latvia. He is surviving tuberculosis this long back then. Arthur slowly declined very fast. This guy's like, yeah, I moved it myself.
He's tuberculosis in reverse, huh?
Reverse
Regular
cirrhosis.
Benjamin Button here. The only people that had seen anything were some students, some high school age students that actually seen him moving some stuff. And they said it was like he was moving it with hydrogen balloons, like being just picked up. He actually at one point said that he knew how the Great Pyramids were built. Which maybe he did. Who knows?
This is the Wizard of Oz. That's what he is.
He could be. Could have been a guy back there just pulling the strings.
Him or he's like the Wizard of Oz or Willy Wonka. This dude's got all these gizmos and stuff.
This could be Willy Wonka.
Oh my god!
This really could be. The story wasn't about chocolate. It was about limestone.
Limestone, chocolate. What's the difference?
After he hired this guy, he actually moved the castle 10 miles. It took him 3 years, but he got it moved. And he actually, he had to do more pieces there. He quarried. He had a few quarries. I think there's actually 2 spots where you can still see the quarries. There's one filled with water and another hole. And then I think some of them they filled up. But he built all kinds of stuff. The rock gate he'd built, I don't know how much it weighs. I mean, I don't know how many tons it weighs, but like a school-age child can actually push this rock gate that's on this hinge and open it up. And he had cut different shapes out, crescent moons. He made furniture out of it.
It's just crazy because I can't hardly do anything unless I have a YouTube tutorial or something.
No.
And this guy back then is just like, you know what?
I got this.
Build a castle.
He's like, it'd be cool. Like a chair over here, man. I'll just whittle this chair out of this rock and take a seat, Might take me a year to sit down, but hey, it'd be worth it in the end.
Hey, what's it going to happen? Tuberculosis?
Little hard
I got my
work.
magnets.
Yeah. Got a pocket full of magnets and this rock chisel.
This is Iron Man.
He might have been like the guy from the Shawshank who made those little chess pieces. The castle itself, it looks like dried coral. That's why they call it the Coral Castle. It's actually oolite limestone. It's kind of a porous, light-colored rock. It does. I mean, I looked at the pictures of it. It looks like dried coral is what it looks like. All the pieces you see there, which is where it's at in Homestead, that's where it still is today. You can go see it today. He carved all those pieces by hand. He did all of it himself. He didn't want nobody to help him. I don't even know how many years they said over the first and the second castle. I think it was 18 or 20 years of doing this.
I'm just thinking he did all this because of heartbreak. If he was a musician, he'd probably be the greatest country singer ever.
Hey, he might have whittled out the pick of destiny. The pick of destiny might be whittled out of oolite limestone from this guy.
You know what? That would make more sense.
It really would. At the original location, he would charge, like we said, 10 cents for visitors. At the new location, hey, inflation, 25 cents. But
moving fees, please.
Yeah, moving fees. But he'd still, if you didn't have money, hey, he wants to show you. Check out my rocks, man. Come in, check them out.
25 cents. I don't got that. All right, go on in.
Yeah, just come on in. He ended up suffering a stroke. Sometime in 1951, he had the stroke. He went to the hospital. It never did say if it was before or after he went to the hospital that he suffered the stroke. He actually went in. He had kidney failure, and that's what he ended up dying from, was kidney failure.
Sir, your kidneys are packed full of magnets.
He's just eating magnets. Like, well, I don't have tuberculosis anymore. At least I ain't coughing.
Anytime he feels sick, he's just popping magnets.
Man, why you make so much noise when you walk around, man? Like a clickety clack. Magnets adjusting.
Good thing he never got an MRI.
Well, that ain't no joke. A human shotgun shell. Well, after he died, he didn't have any family around. He actually had a nephew in Chicago. There's multiple stories, so you don't know which one's true. One said when he died, that the castle went to the nephew, and then the nephew sold it to a man named Julius Levin, which was a retired jeweler from Chicago. And Julius Levin's obituary stated that he bought the land from the state of Florida, and he didn't know while he bought the land that there was actually a castle on it. He found out later, and then when he found out, he turned it into a tourist attraction. So he had the tourist attraction. He finally ended up selling it. He sold it to Coral Castle Incorporated, which, hey, if you had a Coral Castle and there's a company named Coral Castle Incorporated.
That just works.
Hey, yeah. I mean, destiny there.
The pick of destiny. The castle of destiny.
Castle
the
of
COD,
destiny.
if you will.
COD. We are on a kill streak. So that company, they actually own it to this day. You can actually visit this castle. I looked it up. It was Thursday through Monday. They're open 9 to 6. I think some of the days on the weekends, I think it was actually till 7 o'clock. But $18 entrance fee.
God.
You can go check this castle out. You can push that door open.
They let you in for free if you don't have the $18, or they don't practice the same practices.
This ain't the same. This ain't the same Ed.
This ain't Ed. This ain't Ed's castle.
We ain't bragging now. We trying to make money. No, I think the biggest question about that is how did this one man, how did he actually build this castle? Actually, how did he build 2 castles? He built one, moved it to another. And what was, I think even a crazier fact was when I was looking him up, it said that he was 5 foot tall and 100 pounds. They said he's the same size as the average 11-year-old American boy. And this guy, hey, with the strength of magnets, perpetual motion machines, and good old leverage, he moved tons and tons. I think they said there was like 3 million pounds of limestone.
Oh, man, 5 foot tall. This is a leprechaun?
Hey.
That's how he did it.
If he was a leprechaun, he wouldn't eat that 10 cents. He'd already have a pot of gold.
No, this is the leprechaun from the movie Leprechaun. No, very greedy man.
Greedy. Nah, he let you in for free, though. So I don't think it's the same guy.
Nah, this guy
same height, but not the same guy.
This guy sounds, Florida man. Because, Florida man's not just crazy in like a bad way. There's a lot of crazy.
There's a lot of good, crazy Florida men.
Well,
what do you think? You think this is a superhero, or is this a smartest man that ever lived, or? It's
Magneto.
It might be.
He would put magnets in the coral, and he would eat a whole bunch of magnets.
And then he just moves around.
Move like that.
They just start dragging over there to him.
There you go.
I gotta keep moving. That's why he was so skinny. He had to keep moving.
The only thing I could think otherwise is like, in SpongeBob. It's not a boulder. It's a rock. Ed used to ride these babies for miles.
Well, they did say. Well, I did read one report where it said, well, they weren't quite as heavy as they looked. I mean, they were porous, but hey,
he's still tiny though.
2,000-pound rock, even if it has holes in it, is still 2,000-pound rock.
It's just 2,000 pounds with holes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, honestly, that seems insane to be able to move that much stuff with one person. I mean, you're talking, if you were saying, oh, this guy's doing it, he's got a backhoe out there and a bobcat and a dump truck and bulldozer, he's pushing stuff around.
This ain't Texas, though. This ain't Texas. This is Florida.
This is 1912 with a rock hammer and a Fortune 5 pick.
Man, he's got a high construction skill, high crafting, more than likely, and plenty of time. That's all I could think.
Hey, this is just a real life survival game, huh? That dude's just over there crafting. Like he doesn't need no food. He ain't out there trying to kill nobody. He's just crafting.
It said he was the inspiration for the game Ark.
He could have been. Well, I think that's all we have on the Coral Castle. I mean, it definitely is interesting. I mean, anything that's kind of weird and unique, which is Florida, people flock to it. Hey, I like going to Florida. I like seeing weird stuff, unique stuff you're never going to see. I don't like cannibals. I mean, y'all can keep that to yourselves.
Y'all can keep Army Hammer. Yeah. We'll stay away from that.
Yeah. Oh. Well, let's move on to our last subject, which, this is a big place. I know we're kind of a funny destination podcast for the weird stuff, but it's usually smaller places or just different events you could actually see, or just weird events in Florida or whatever state we're talking about. But Everglades, you're talking 1.5 million acres. This is basically the bottom tip of Florida.
You thought Skinwalker Ranch was big.
No.
This is Skinwalker Ranch on bath salts.
I heard someone describe describe the Everglades as the redneck Jurassic Park. Which, hey, makes sense, It's basically a subtropical wetland covering 1.5 million acres. Slow-moving waters, diverse habitats, features sawgrass marshes, mangroves, and cypress swamps.
Dang.
Originally, I think it was inhabited by Native Americans. The Seminole and Muccosuke tribes were well established in the Everglades before Europeans, which the Spanish are the ones who came in there. They're the Florida explorers. Ponce de Leon looking for the fountain of youth.
The OG Florida man.
Ponce de Leon might have been. So they interacted with the Native Americans. There was actually a Seminole War to protect their land, which was the Everglades, basically where they were living. Let's talk about the species in Florida. Let's start with the ones that we know there. The
confirmed
natives. Yeah,
confirmed.
Tell us about the species that are actually there.
Well,
for sure,
confirmed to be full of alligators, crocodiles, Florida panthers, and then other, like fish, birds,
manatee. I mean, alligator. We all know what alligator is. That's just we're close to Louisiana. I've seen tons of them.
My wife loves to refer to these as swamp puppies.
Swamp puppies.
Yeah.
What does she call a crocodile? Swamp cats?
See, I don't know. Crocodiles are a little crazier.
It might be one they're a cat.
But I do like that. It's funny because you want to be scared of them, but you've seen that video, the little baby crocodile learning how to do a death roll, and he's doing it on like a dead fish. He does it, and I'm just like, you know what? Maybe crocodiles ain't so bad.
Yeah, not so bad. I actually think this is the only place in the world that there's alligators and crocodiles live in the same area. Because an alligator has to be in a warm climate. I think a crocodile has to be in actual tropical climate, and the southernmost tip of Florida sort of hits the tropical area, and this is basically the only place in the world where those two regions overlap.
And it's crazy how different they are, because I know alligators, I don't think they move their bottom jaw.
Yeah.
They just have the top jaw, and crocodiles go ham.
Yeah, all I know is alligator, you see them later, and then crocodiles, you see them
after a while.
Yeah. That's how I keep track of them, I don't think I'm going to get close enough to check out their mouth like, hey, man, bottom jaw or top jaw.
And, alligators, I heard, are very ornery. And I heard they're ornery because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush.
I've heard that.
Don't
not the medulla oblongata.
Don't believe the medulla oblongata propaganda, all right? What Mama says goes.
Mama says goes. Florida panther, he's a big cat, huh? Like a mountain lion. Oh,
Now this isn't like the black panther or those jaguars. See, I always confuse jaguars and panthers.
I mean, we don't want to start an argument on here, but they say that black panthers are all jaguars from South America, and the panther they're referring to here is basically a mountain lion, but it lives in the swamp. They call it a panther, same as a cougar or mountain lion.
So it's a swamp jaguar.
But it's not black; it's brown.
Well,
So it's just a swamp cat, I guess.
I got the swamp puppies.
Yeah, swamp cat.
It's a real swamp cat.
Yeah, it's a real one. I guess the only other big animal I can think of that people would be interested in is the West Indian manatees there, which is, that's sea cow. Swims around, eats vegetation.
They serve a lot of purpose. They write for Family Guy.
The manatees do.
Yeah. Shout out Eric Cartman.
Oh. I mean, there's plenty of other native species there. There's, bird, like Dylan said, there's birds, there's all kinds of stuff.
That's
Snakes.
not even including like native plants.
No, tons and tons of plants. Also, instead of all the natives, there's actually a lot of invasive species. I mean, that's if you think of the Everglades now, you think of invasive species. I mean, that's always, there's TV shows about python hunters and iguana catchers and all kinds of people.
Next week on Iguana Catchers.
That could be our new show. Check out our secondary channel, Iguana Catchers.
That's a Patreon exclusive. We got to go to Florida and catch iguanas. And we are ill-equipped.
I got this baseball glove I'm going to use. Oh, some of the invasive species. Tell us about the invasive species.
Let's see. We've got the Burmese python, which that's a no from me. Any type of snake is a no from me.
Especially not a 10-foot long one.
No, I've seen anaconda.
Whoa.
I can't. Me and Indiana Jones got a lot in common. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. These snakes apparently are apex predators in the Everglades. Can you imagine getting hunted down by a snake? They ain't even got legs.
I actually think that I read that I don't know how much the percentage of mammals that pythons have killed in the Everglades. Like I'm talking deer, raccoons, beavers. I mean, I don't know if there's beavers there or not. Won't be if there's Burmese
not anymore.
No. But a ton of actual mammals that they've just basically are wiping out. That's why there's I think there's a bounty on them. I think you can go down there and catch them and pay a little cash for them.
That's like in Texas, right? With the hog hunting, getting the
Yeah.
helicopter,
Yeah.
mow them down.
I think they just do that for fun in Texas. I think they pay to do that. Oh.
We got the Burmese python. We got the Nile monitor lizard, which basically a dinosaur. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. This is a big fella.
That's another wild animal to be down there, a monitor lizard. Isn't that the one that eats eggs?
Yeah, I've seen videos of that. That's wild.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we talk about like cryptids and stuff and be like, oh, that's not real. But then you see the creatures that are real and you're like, does Bigfoot really sound that crazy?
I mean, this hairy guy, he's like, that's nuts. But, I mean, you got a freaking lizard that eats eggs? I mean, that's
Got snakes
strange.
that hang from trees. Like, try to go after Ice Cube? Come on. We got that, and then we got more. We got the African green iguana.
Green
right?
iguana, yeah. Well, I don't think it's from Africa, but green iguana. You see those a lot of times in Mexico. Like if you ever go to Mexico, you'll see them just all over the place. Which I think that's how Florida's getting too. Which I actually think when it gets cold enough, they kind of hibernate, and then because I think Florida a couple years ago had a cold spell, and there was actually iguanas falling out of trees, like hitting people as they're walking around.
It's raining iguanas. That's biblical portions, but it's a little worse than frogs.
Oh,
And then we got the fish,
oh yeah,
We have
tons of fish.
peacock bass, which
Peacock bass, that's pretty
cool.
neat fish, yeah.
we got Oscar fish, which ain't that
I
the fish from Fishtail or Shark Tale? Oscar was that his name?
Yeah. Oscars, they look like a cichlid, but they kind of got, well, the one I used to have some as an aquarium. I had one, was all you could fit in there because he got like 10 inches long.
Dang, I only ever had betta fish and goldfish, and they die the next day.
This Oscar was like a cichlid, like sort of in the bass family, but he was black with a red spot. Some of them they would sell were albino colored with like orange spots. But if you took your hand and put the food up above the tank and you were dropping the food down in there, if you didn't watch it, he would come up and drill you in the hand. He would come out of the water.
Oh.
I remember my brother putting his hand over there feeding him one time, and he came out of the water, hit him, and cut open his finger.
Oh,
That's how mean they were. You couldn't put them in there with anything else. They'd hurt anything else that was in there.
Dang. Well, stay away from Oscar.
Yeah.
And then we got walking catfish. I would kill to have them walk to me. I hate having to
Yeah.
sit there and
Every
wait
time
for
you go to a restaurant, you're like, man, I wish I had another piece of catfish, and you just
walk them out.
Walk 'em
Get you
all
some
over.
catfish legs.
Hey, they got buffalo legs, so buffalo wings, so they got catfish legs.
But it's looking like they're called that because they can survive outside of the water for a little bit, and they can actually move across land.
Yeah, I think they're native to drier places. So when there's droughts, they live in basically puddles, and then, hey, we'll just crawl over to this other puddle. It's getting a little dry over here,
I ain't just gonna give up like that. I'm a walking catfish.
No. And then more cichlids, of course. Or basically, it's anything that you can buy in a pet store probably lives in the Everglades.
So it's the Petco of Florida.
Pretty much.
Nature's
It's a
Petco.
dumping ground. When you see all those betta fish that aren't in those containers and you don't buy them, hey, just remember they're going to Florida.
If you don't get them hamsters, they're going to the
Florida.
pythons.
Yeah, feeding the pythons. You think they're 10 foot for no reason? No. They've been eating gerbils for the last 6 months.
What if the gerbils get that big?
Then I'd watch out for something else. I don't know. I don't even know what a gerbil eats.
Oh, I don't know. I've seen the Nutty Professor. I saw.
Hercules. Oh.
Now we're going to get into the ones that aren't confirmed.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how much it takes to be, confirmed or not, but we'll get into the cryptids. You have the skunk ape, which if you think of Florida, you think of skunk ape. I mean, what's strange is it's basically a Bigfoot that smells bad, It's like, I mean, Florida seems kind of like the state that just wants to one-up you. You're like, hey, man, we got this like hairy dude runs around in our forest over here. And you're like, yeah, man, I got that too, but he like smells really bad too.
Oh, you got the goat man? Hold my beer.
They got the mountain goat man,
The way my brain works, I picture a skunk ape is just a big ape with a stripe on it with a skunk tail.
He's black and white. He's black and white striped. You're like,
Got a
hey,
French accent.
that way, man. What's that smell? Oh, somebody run over a skunk ape. You run over a skunk ape in an airboat. How do you get that smell out? Tomato juice?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Gatorade.
Gatorade. Red Gatorade. So, skunk ape, you're looking at it's basically Bigfoot. Big, hairy, 5 to or 6 to 8 feet tall, somewhere around there. I guess you got smaller ones. I don't know if there's a teenager Bigfoot. Daddy
Leave me alone,
Bigfoot.
Mom. I'm trying to walk. I'm trying to dramatically walk.
I would think that a teenager, preteen skunk ape or Bigfoot would be pretty clumsy. You know, you already got the big feet and you're kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Make bad decisions.
Hey, the Skunk Ape sounds like a really good new metal band.
The skunk ape is so popular in Florida that there's actually a skunk ape research headquarters facility there. They investigate and they promote the legend of the skunk ape.
Man, you think your job is cool.
This is the research. Let's see where it's located in the Okeechobee, Florida. Is that how you say that? Okeechobee?
Looks like it.
Heart of the Everglades. Small museum research serves as a hub for those interested in skunk ape phenomenon.
This really is sounding like Jurassic Park.
Hey, David Shealy. That's the guy who runs it. He might be like the guy off Jurassic Park.
Real skunk ape DNA.
Found him in some resin. Took his DNA out.
It says they didn't find these in amber. They found them in limestone.
That's where the holes came from. All the skunk eggs.
Those are skunk holes.
There's skunk egg eggs in there.
Those aren't magnets. What are you talking about?
But I think you can actually visit this research center. You can go down there and check it out. You can learn all about the skunk ape, which, I mean, if you were down there, I would encourage you to go down there. That would be something different to look at, something cool. But skunk ape is not the only cryptid here. I mean, of course.
Oh, you're going to have competition when you got that much land.
You need another kind of man there. You got Florida man. You got the skunk ape, which is a hairy man, smelly hairy man. Gator man.
Not to be confused with Joe Ball.
No.
That's our Gator man. We claim him.
Yeah.
This is Florida's Gator man.
This is a half gator, half man. Hey.
Man, Joe Ball would have loved him.
Like, check this guy out.
I don't even got to move the bodies. He does it for me.
You like swimming pools? I got a place for you. How do you like dogs and cats? I mean, I'm not going to be the guy who tells you, you're this. No, man, that couldn't be real. But I don't know, man. Half gator, half man. I mean, are you talking about a guy who's like crawling around on his belly and he's green? Or are you talking about like a guy that's got a tail, or just like a real scaly dude over there?
I'd take it too literal. I see actual human legs with jeans and the top half just bent over, bad posture.
This says he's typically described as a humanoid with alligator-like features such as a scaly skin, a long tail, and perhaps even alligator's head. But then you're getting into that. It's almost like too much. You're like,
that's Killer Croc from DC.
You're like, this guy is, this alligator man. He looks exactly like an alligator. Like that alligator over there, you'd swear he's an alligator man.
Alligator's just like,
just
what I do, man?
I'm just an alligator man.
No, those are just legs sticking out of his mouth.
This one, it doesn't seem near as popular as a.
It sounds like Killer Croc from DC.
This is like the story, like you're at 4th of July, your uncle's a little tipsy, and he's like, hey, man, back in the 70s, I was out there in Everglades, I seen an alligator man,
I was out visiting Coral Castle, and the next thing I know, I'm getting beat up by the alligator man.
Alligator man stole my bath salts. Had the worst night I ever had.
Alligator man ran up, was like, you got my Bible.
So I don't know about alligator man. Could be, though.
Who am I to tell him he doesn't exist?
No.
That's not my place.
But what about the wampus cat? Does he exist?
Wampus cat. Let's see. It's just a big old cat with supernatural traits, though. That's the thing. So it's glowing eyes, large muscular body and 6 legs.
Whoa, easy there. Thought we was getting in a romance novel there.
Sounds like a Pokemon. But I picture him like a real buff cat. Like the 2 front legs are just big old biceps, and then the back ones are just legs.
Is this Machamp? Machamp?
Like,
did the Florida Panther just evolve? What is going on here?
like Family Guy when Stewie genetically bred that pig, and he's like, oink.
Oh.
But he's depicted as a giant cat or monstrous panther or even a shapeshifter. Throwback to Skinwalker Ranch there.
I don't know. I mean, it could be 6-legged cat.
It sounds like somebody was trying to take a panoramic picture on their iPhone and the cat moved.
Whoa, check this out. I don't know. I kind of picture him like, you got like a regular truck that, you could do a little work in this regular truck, or you got a dually with 2 tires on the back. I mean, maybe he's in a tough old swamp fighting alligators and Burmese pythons. He's like, hey, man, you know what helped me? 2 extra legs to get me out of here.
Got me a Chevrolet Wampus.
I can fit so much stuff in this thing.
I could move a whole limestone castle with this thing.
Yeah, what if old Ed was just latching up?
He created the Wampus cat.
To drag his stones or drag his rocks around.
Hey, they probably don't charge money.
Oh, that was most of the stories I could find of like cryptids in there. I mean, you hear other little singular things, giant crocodiles or alligators. I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff, but those are some of the more popular ones.
Lake Placid, pretty much.
Pretty much. But you got some other interesting stories in there. I mean, you have the Chokoloskee Island, which is a small island located in southwestern part of Florida near the edge of the Everglades. It was actually used for a lot of criminal activities, bootlegging, stuff like that. It's Edgar Watson. He was sort of a criminal down there. He was involved in various activities, bootlegging, just random criminal stuff.
Florida man.
He had a farm on that island, and there's a series of violent events there. He was a suspected murderer. I mean, a lot of people going missing back then with him.
The Everglades.
He actually was killed pretty violently. He was killed in 1910 in an incident involving a posse that was seeking him for crimes. As a result, he actually was killed in a gunfight.
That's not the worst way to go out in the Everglades.
No.
You can get beat up by the Wampus cat.
He guy grabbed you with
You just look at my girlfriend, bro?
2 middle arms and started beating you with his 2 top arms.
We got Goro, Mortal Kombat over here.
He ripped him in half. Fatality.
Wampus victory.
So, I mean, you had stuff like that. You had...
So basically like real crimes that we can report, but also paranormal crazy stuff that we may or may not be able to report.
I mean, they even connect Al Capone to this place. They said there's actually an abandoned village, like a lost village there. And they say it was probably abandoned by the Seminoles, and they basically moved out, but they don't know why they moved out. And then they said that island was used by Al Capone as a bootlegging site.
Dang.
But then you get into other events. There was the Eastern Airlines Flight 401. It was a pretty big plane crash. I think there was... I don't remember the reason for it. It was something with a landing gear button, and then the pilot was trying to fix the button or the light that came on for it, and then he ended up flying too low, and they said he crashed at like 200 miles an hour into the middle of the Everglades.
Now tell me if I'm wrong here, but it's probably not even with the Everglades, but doesn't the Bermuda Triangle connect to Florida?
It's pretty close. I mean, you don't hear... I mean... Ever since GPS got on phones, you don't hear much about that Bermuda Triangle anymore. I think it's probably just a coincidence, but
I think the magnets at Bermuda Triangle were defeated.
Welcome to the final boss in iPhone. Hey, sorry about you. You had a good run though.
Steve Jobs is the final boss.
Yeah, but no, the flight. I mean, it was a bad deal. I think there was 163 people on board, and like 101 of them died, and then it made it worse trying to get out in the Everglades to find these people.
And you come across the Wampus cat.
Wampus cats, alligators, pythons.
And it says here that, of course, with every flight crash, anything, which honestly it's my bread and butter. I love reading about those, the mystery behind them, but of course it's known for its association with paranormal.
Yep.
Some survivors and others have reported sightings of apparitions or ghosts. Will-o-wisp.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like a lot of places you'll hear something tragic happens. I mean, people claim to see some sort of apparitions,
Every time I hear ghost apparition, I think about that old YouTube video that everybody used to be so scared of. Those old amateur ghost hunters. They had like the EVP and the ghost was like, I got a body of a pig.
But I think there's just a lot of bodies they find there. But I mean, it's a big place. It's wild. It's hard to get to. I mean, I don't know where even a gas station is when you enter into the park. It's a national park. And when you get there, I think there's only just a couple places where you can even buy, a little bit of food. They say if you ever visit, have a full tank of gas and make sure you have food and water.
Buc-ee's could save this. Buc-ee's could save this place.
Buc-ee's down there.
Instead of the beaver, though, it's a wampus cat on the cover. It's Buc-ee's cousin, Wookie.
Yeah, so.
I like this one here, too, even though this is probably one of the most, oh, that ain't real. The ghost ships, ghost pirate ships. I love stories of ghost ships, but this one is straight up an actual, like the Flying Dutchman from SpongeBob. Yeah. It's looking like actual ghost ship. Said a wife curses the pirates, and the ghostly remains of the pirates in the ship have to cruise the Everglades for eternity. Now, if I was a ghost pirate and I had to do that for eternity, I'd start a tour.
Yeah, I would too. Company. I would too. Make a little money off of it,
Fight the balloons. Sir, it's 2024. I don't know what that means. $5, please. We take Cash App.
Cash App. Not a lot of cell phone. That might be the reason there's not a lot of cell phone service down there, so they can't get the internet to connect to charge.
Yeah, I can't get me Wi-Fi.
Cash only. No, the Everglades, it's a wild place. I mean,
that's one cool thing is America has a lot of parks and places like that, and those are the places you hear the most about just weird stuff happening.
Yeah.
And it's one of the coolest things about it, I think.
And it's just so different. I mean, you have so many. I mean, we're talking about a swamp, and basically the last episode we're in the desert out in Utah, and now we're basically in the wetlands.
And of course, a lot of these aren't real. We know that, but I think stories like this are important because I feel like tall tales and stuff like that just really it kind of helps shape a lot of things. Media, just stories in general are just fun.
Yeah. I mean, would you rather hear us talk about where to visit Disney World or, hey, there's some bath salts eating cannibals and wampus cats down there you can check out too, I mean.
You just choose your poison, literally. I've never even been to Disney World, so I couldn't tell you where to go and what to do. I just tell you that Walt's head's down there somewhere. That's a story for later.
In the tunnels. I've seen it on Futurama. I don't know if it's still down there.
He's down there with Nixon.
No, I think that's about it for Florida. I know this episode was for the whole state of Florida, but this is mostly southern Florida. We might come back to a northern Florida.
We didn't bring up the most important thing that came out of Florida.
What's that?
Limp Bizkit.
Whoa, there it is.
We know Fred Durst is from Carolina, but they started in Jacksonville, Florida.
Hey.
And that is Florida's greatest export.
The song of Florida.
Florida is well known for its chocolate starfishes and hot dog flavored water.
I figured they were known pretty well for breaking stuff. So
$3 bills.
It makes sense. Oh no! Florida it's definitely it's an interesting place. I mean, if you haven't been, I would suggest you go check it out. Just
be safe. Wear a bulletproof vest.
Be safe. Go with a friend.
Don't drink the Gatorade from Florida. It's okay to drink the Gatorade that you got. Just don't drink the one they make in Florida.
The full strength Gatorade from Florida.
They don't dilute it in Florida. It's full power in Florida.
We could be finding out this another conspiracy here.
We're getting too deep. They're going to cut us out.
No, but I think that's going to end our show for today. Follow us wherever you get podcasts, and we're on YouTube, State of Legends podcast on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Send us any comments, or we have an email, contact@stateoflegends.com. And I guess we'll see you next week.
For the next state, but that's a surprise for now.
We'll see you then.